Let's bring in our White House correspondent, Vaughn Hilliard, MSNBC political analyst and staff writer at The Atlantic, Ashley Parker, former ICE Chief of Staff Jason Hauser, and NBC legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Paul Butler. Vaughn, the president and his administration are doing something rare here. They're actually trying to backpedal that initial post. Walk us through it.
Right, almost seemingly hedging off of previous statements. And this is where, historically, for this administration, as well as Trump admin number one, there is the suggestion of hyperbole by some when the president makes a statement versus the words that one could understandably, based off the last 10 years, to be taken very seriously, and an acknowledgement of his intended plans ahead. That's where, over the weekend, in a social media post, he posted that Chicago is about to find out why it's called the Department of War. That would, of course, make it very clear and would back up previous statements that he had made in which he intends to send in the National Guard. Of course, unless he were to invoke the Insurrection Act, the military cannot be used for domestic law enforcement purposes. But this White House has made clear that it intends to use this administration and the military inside domestically of major U.S. cities. Take a listen to our colleague Yamiche Alcindor here this week and ask him directly about that.
That's fake news. When you say that, darling, that's fake news. You never listen. That's why you're second rate. We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our cities.
I think it's worth being taken out of context. If I said we're going to war, we're going to war with the criminal cartels. We're going to war with illegal aliens, public safety threats that rape children, that raped citizens, that committed armed robberies, that distribute narcotics that kill Americans.
Now, the president, in another social media post just a few minutes ago, suggested that Illinois officials, including J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Johnson, do not want the support of the federal government. We can move fast and stop this madness, he writes. The city and state have not been able to do the job. People of Illinois should band together and demand protection. It is only going to get worse. Of course, it is important to note that the governor and the mayor have been very explicit that they do welcome the support of, for example, the FBI and the ATF as part of investigations. Mayor Johnson here has pushed back aggressively against cuts to the ATF and also called out Republican states for lax gun laws, suggesting that the trafficking of guns into his city has had negative impact and consequences, and that the federal government, if it were serious about addressing crime in his city, would take measures to increase funding, for example, for ATF, and also address those lax gun laws across the country.
So, Vaughn, any more insight into a timeline for this expected ICE surge and where things stand as far as the National Guard being deployed to Chicago?
That's where it's an open question mark here. It was a week ago that the president had suggested that if J.B. Pritzker didn't act fast, that, quote, we're coming. But, of course, now a week has passed since then, and the president since then has only opened the door to potentially using the National Guard and the military and federal law enforcement surges in places like Baltimore, New Orleans, of course, Portland as well, seemingly suggesting that he had seen new video in Portland, for example, of mass destruction and protest. There have been no such videos of recent. There's the potential that he was referencing 2020 video here, but the president clearly seems eager to move forward with this, and the use of the National Guard is now just a matter of when.
Vaughn Hilliard, thank you so much for your reporting. Jason, they've been hyping up Chicago, but are right now targeting Massachusetts for immigration raids, calling it Patriot 2.0. What do you make of that, and why this long wind-up to Chicago action?
Because I think the biggest focus of the White House is about the political theater of sort of these law enforcement surges, and more the drip of this, the more the sort of the lead in that we're getting. They're meeting their sort of the messaging and political goals. Additionally, you're starting to begin to see the strain that's being put on federal law enforcement. Just to set the table, there are now currently more federal law enforcement agents across ATF, FBI, DEA, their mission is to go after national security and public safety threats. There's more of those agents focused on non-criminal immigration enforcement than there are ICE deportation officers. The hypocrisy here is that this White House has been defunding law enforcement initiatives and grants and programs to go after real violent criminals. And they've been blending this narrative, this sort of messaging that somehow that they want to pursue law and order and go after gun smugglers and human traffickers and drug dealers in these communities. But the actual actions are surging immigration, federal law enforcement, who target large quotas of arrest of migrants. Those two things don't compute. And additionally, you're starting to see that, in fact, immigration enforcement and arrests have increased of non-criminals, but deportations and removals of those with final orders of removal or that are national security and public safety threats have not went up. We're actually just seeing mass sort of immigration enforcement operations for the point of showing the theater of it all.
So there's a jam up in the system, obviously. Back to the president's Chipocalypse Now post. This claim that the president's words were taken out of context. Paul, I mean, there's the post. Let's put it back up so everyone can see it. A meme referencing this fictional U.S. commander from Apocalypse Now, choppers over Chicago, and he writes, "Find out why it's called the Department of War." I wonder, the fact that they're trying to kind of backpedal a little bit, could this post be used in some kind of court challenge to the president's actions if he's sending these National Guard troops to Chicago eventually and these other cities that they've already been sent?
Absolutely. So under the law, the president can deploy federal law enforcement officers to Chicago. So he can send agents from ICE, the FBI, the Secret Service, ATF, but they can only do immigration enforcement. They can't make arrests for crimes like homicide or carjacking. Regarding the National Guard, there's a case in Los Angeles. A judge said last week that Trump's deployment there was illegal because it violated the legal doctrine of posse comitatus, which separates policing from soldiering. The military can't do local policing, but that ruling only applies in California. If it happens in Chicago, if Trump deploys the National Guard there, there'd be immediate litigation, but a judge might allow the troops there while the case is pending, especially if Trump asserts, as he did in Los Angeles, that the National Guard is just there to protect federal property. And
I mean, the president's saying, get ready for finding out why it's called the Department of War. Sends a strong message. And Ashley, I want you to listen to how Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth, who fought in Iraq, argued that this is beyond standard Trump social media taunting. Watch.
Let's make it clear. The president of the United States essentially just declared war on a major city in his own nation. This is not normal, Margaret. This is not acceptable behavior. I take what the president of the United States says very seriously because that is the respect you have to give to the office.
Ashley, any condemnation from Republicans or just crickets?
Well, I think you have not heard that much condemnation from Republicans, although you have seen people, as you mentioned earlier, in Trump's orbit trying to walk this back a bit or add nuance or context and claim, he's not really declaring war against the American city of Chicago. He's declaring war against sort of criminals who are here illegally. But I think if there's one thing that the entire nation has learned after about 10 years of President Trump on the national scene, it's to take him both literally and seriously. And when you see a post like that, he's talking about going to war. He's using imagery of war. He's using imagery from Vietnam. So the people who are taking him literally and seriously, like Senator Duckworth, like Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and others, they're not sort of being breathless and hyperbolic. It's a pretty reasonable way to interpret a social media post like that, coupled with how the president has behaved thus far in other cities and since taking office.
So, Paul, if or when President Trump actually does send in troops to Chicago, I mean, this would then be part of a pattern that we've seen of him sending in forces to cities that are seeing a decline in crime already, in effect, kind of punishing them for doing something that's already working. Are there other ways that the president could be helpful in helping to reduce crime further?
Absolutely. So the mayor in Chicago says we welcome federal and local law enforcement cooperation. So, for example, the ATF is very good at tracing illegal guns that have been used in crimes. So that's a better use of their skills than putting them on the street that they have no experience in enforcing. In addition, Trump cut hundreds of millions of dollars in community violence prevention programs that have been proven to make a difference. Chicago had a 30% reduction in violent crime. So you would think that Trump might be asking Chicago, what did you do right and how can I support your effort? Instead, what they're doing is likely to backfire because it's going to erode the hard-won trust between law enforcement and the citizens of Chicago, the people who live there. For example, ICE agents wear masks. Chicago police aren't allowed to wear masks for obvious reasons.